Annapolis really developed during the last half of the 19th century and into the first half of the 20th century. It's always been the state capital, as you know, but it is on 3 or 4 important rivers run through Annapolis, as well as being directly on the Chesapeake Bay. And so that led to the development of the maritime history of this community. But the south side, which came to be known as Eastport, is really the root of the museum. In the middle of it is McNasby's Oyster Company, one of the largest processors of oysters. Peg Wallace, who fell in love with Eastport, she got a lot of help from Mayor Moyer. They formed this Eastport Historic Society. Ultimately, they were able to lease from the city the Barge House, which still exists, the little building on the McNasby's property. In 2001, Peg decided to step aside, and I became chairman of the museum. We renamed it at that point the Annapolis Maritime Museum. The year 2000, the city took over that property, the McNasby's Oyster Company property, and we were able then to secure a lease from the city of the McNasby's Oyster Company building. We immediately began raising funds to renovate it because it had been more or less abandoned for some time. In 2004, we were able to build a partnership with the U.S. Lighthouse Society and the city of Annapolis to acquire the Thomas Point Lighthouse and begin tours in 2007 after the lighthouse had been restored itself. In 2009, after 6 years of hard work and fundraising and renovation, McNasby's was formally opened. In 2010, a fellow named Eric Rubin assumed the chairmanship from me, and he brought in Alice Estrada, who has subsequently become the president and CEO of the museum. They did a terrific job of expanding the education program. Last year, we served about 10,000 children. They also secured the lease from the city of the Moyer Nature Park, which is 12 acres on the other side of Back Creek from the existing museum. So we would be one museum with 2 campuses almost side by side. In the spring of 2018, we acquired the classic bay skipjack Wilma Lee, which is an oyster dredger from the good old days. That has been completely restored, and that will be in the water this fall and taking people for tours all over the place. It's one of the bigger of the skipjacks on the bay, and one of the last. There's only about 25 left on the bay that are operating, and only a small handful are working. Wilma Lee hasn't hauled any oysters ashore for a long time, but it's going to be Coast Guard certified to take about 40 people plus crew out on the bay, and we're looking forward to that. The museum's budget has grown substantially. We have over 10,000 kids coming a year now, and many, many adults. The community is very committed to our project. It's been a very popular program for fundraising purposes and so forth. There is a real wellspring of community awareness of the museum and enthusiasm for it. The mission is to educate youth and adults in the Annapolis area's rich maritime heritage and the ecology of the Chesapeake Bay through programs, exhibits, and community events. That was the mission then. It still is now.